Why is bay parking so hard? Well, let me show you. At the moment, you can see I'm parked nicely between the lines. But now I'm inside the car, I have no idea where the lines are. Let me show you. Right, I can see door, glove box, no line in there. On this side, yep, door, bit of dashboard. Where are the lines? I can open the door. Aha, there they are. Now, although you could open the doors to help you see the lines, if you do your reverse bay park on the driving test with the doors open, you will fail. Now, let's be fair, you probably should fail because when your doors are open, your car is a lot wider and therefore you need a bigger space. So what are your options? One option is you could go and buy yourself a McLaren Senna with see-through doors. It only costs £750,000. They only made 500 of them and they're all sold out. Then there's the matter of fueling it, paying for tax, paying for insurance. Oh, on the topic of insurance, check out my free links in the description below for confused.com, Marmalade and Collingwood. Between those three companies, I'm sure you'll probably find your cheapest quote. Collingwood and Marmalade specialise in new driver policies and learner driver policies. Learner driver policies are particularly helpful when you want to learn in a friend's or family member's car, as it keeps your policy separate from theirs. This can be a very cost-effective way of getting extra practice. Confused.com compare many insurers. Use the link in the description to see how they compare, and if you use the link to Collingwood, you'll save up to £20 off of your learner policy. Anyway, back to parking. Let's assume you're not one of the 500 people who happen to own a McLaren Senna. What do? The first real option is an option I'm not very fond of and don't like, because I don't actually think it teaches you how to reverse a car between two lines in a car park. Here's how it goes. What you do is find a space you want, then drive past the space to the third line and line it up with a sticker on your door which has been placed there courtesy of your driving instructor. Then simply turn the wheel all the way to the left if the space is on your left, and of course all the way to the right if your space is on the right, and then reverse back until you are straight. When you are straight, simply straighten your wheels and come back until the front of your car is in the bay. You can normally tell that the front of your car is in the bay because the line in front of the bay will appear underneath the wing mirror somewhere around about here. And there you go, job done. But do you really think you know how to park a car now? I mean, what if you got in a different car? What if the sticker wasn't there? Do all cars have these stickers? What if the space you wanted was the last space and therefore there's no third line you can line up with? And how about if you want to reverse into a driveway? Do you have the skills to know how to reverse your car anywhere? Some would argue that this is a good method of reversing because it allows you to continuously look round. But although I think it is important to look round, I also think it's very important to see where you're putting the car. I recommend using the mirrors to help you see the lines. And it's actually one of the main purposes of the mirrors. Most mirrors tilt down very far to help you see the ground. And in my car, when you put it in reverse, they tilt down automatically. If you've watched my parallel parking video, you will know my angle on, get there, angle off method. Well, this method actually also works when you're trying to park in a bay. So the first thing you want to do is stop very close to the space you want, and you want the middle of your car to be roughly in the middle of your space. From the driver's seat, you will feel like you're sitting outside the middle of the space you want. Then you want to lower your wing mirror to give yourself a better view of the ground and steer all the way away from the space you want. And as my space is on the left here, I'm going to steer all the way to the right. Now I simply move forwards until I get the line, and I'll show you what I mean very soon. This line that's coming to view now, about here. So you have a small gap between the line and the car. I'm talking about the gap at the very front of the space. Now that gap roughly represents the space you're going to have between you and that line when you finish parking. So it's very important. Try not to let the space or the gap get too small, because therefore you would end up on top of the line, Also, if the gap was too big, like this, you'd end up very far from the line. So you want that gap to be about 10% of the total width of the space, something like this. Now the next step is to straighten your wheels and get there, or get close. We're going to get close to the bay. And a good way to judge that you're close to the bay, just putting it in reverse to go back, is that it will be, the line at the front of the bay will be right at the bottom of the car, like it is now. If the line is halfway up the back of the car, like now, then it's very far away. And if the line goes out of view, like it does here, then you're definitely too close and you'll end up to the right of your space in this case. So you want the line in view, but only just, and right at the very bottom of the car, around about here, I would say. So now I want to take the angle off, the last step. So I'll steer all the way to the left, and the reason why I'm steering left on this occasion is because the back of my car is pointing towards the right, so I know I need to steer the back of the car to the left to straighten the car in the space. And then I'll come back slowly until the car is in the space and in line with the line. As you can see now, the line is coming round, it's starting to straighten with the car, and when the line and the car is straight, I stop. They're parallel with each other now, so now I'm straight in my space with a decent gap between the line and the car. Now all I need to do is straighten the wheel and then come back slowly until the rear of the space is at, again, the very bottom of the car. When it's at the bottom of the car, just turn the reverse sensors off there because they are making a noise. When it's at the very bottom of the car, like it is around about here, then you know you're all the way back. Another way to tell that the front of your car is in the space and that you're far enough back is that this line here at the front of the space would normally appear underneath the wing mirror around about here. However, this only really works in ordinarily sized cars. If you've got a particularly long car with a long bonnet or a long boot or a truck or a van, this method won't work. And then you're parked. Parking in the space on the right is much the same as parking in a space on the left, except you use your right mirror. Here's a video of what your right mirror should look like when you're parking in a space on the right. So like last time, stop very close to your space. You want the middle of your car to be in line with the middle of your space, so you would feel like you're sitting outside of the middle of the space you want to enter. Then lower your wing mirror to give yourself a better view and steer all the way away from the space. In this case, that is to the left because the space is on the right. Now simply move forward slowly. Remember, it's not this first line that you pay attention to, it's always the second one, which will be coming up soon. And the car is approximately at a 45-degree angle when I get the line in the correct space, which is about here. Nice little space there between the line and the car. Represents roughly the gap I'm going to have at the end of the park. It will possibly shrink a little bit. That's why I've made it probably slightly bigger than I want. Then I straighten the wheel, select reverse gear, and come back very slowly until the space is at the back of the car. So it should look like it's at the very bottom of the car, around about here. And now I'm very close. I'll then steer all the way to the right as my car is pointing currently to the left to take the angle off and be straight in my space. Now I'll come back slowly and watch how the line and the car straighten together until they're parallel. Once the line and the car is parallel and straight, which is approximately here, give or take a few degrees, then you simply straighten the wheel and then come back slowly until the back of the space is at the very bottom of the car. You know that when it's at the bottom of the car, the back of your space is near the bottom of the car or near the back of the car, approximately there, just before it goes out of view. Then I pull the handbrake up and take it out of gear, and it's done. I also think it's very important to know how to correct things when they go wrong. So this is what you should do if you end up too much to one side. So here you can see I've ended up too much to the left of my space. So to correct it, I simply do the same method. Angle on, get there, angle off. But before I do that, I'm going to pull forwards until I'm completely out of the space and try to get a couple of car lengths away from the space if possible, because that will help you with this. But you don't necessarily need a full couple of car lengths, this will do. And now, because I'm over towards the left too much, I'm going to angle myself towards the right. So I'm going to steer all the way to the right, select reverse gear, and I'll come back slowly until I get that image again with the line and having a little bit of a gap next to the car, such as this. Good healthy little gap there between the line and the car, not too big, not too small. Then I'll take the steering off so I'm straighten the wheel, and now I'll get there. So I'm going to get close to the space. I'm going to come back slowly now until the space is at the very, very bottom of the car, near the bottom of the mirror, just about to go out of view. Now I know I'm close. So now it's just a case of taking the angle off. So I'm going to steer back where I came from. So I steered to the right to begin with. So now I'm going to steer to the left. So I'll steer all the way to the left, and then I'll come back slowly now until the line and the car are parallel with each other, which they are about here. So I'll stop here, straighten the wheel again, and I'll come back slowly until the back of my car is near the back of the space, and you can see that in the mirror approximately here, right at the bottom of the car is the back of the space. So now we're in the space. So basically, reverse parking is always angle on, get there, and angle off. Even when you're correcting your parking, you do the same thing. Driving forwards into a bay is a different story, and that requires a video in itself. With years of practice, you'll get brilliant at judging your angle and judging when you're close to where you want to be. Another good tip is to use your mirror that's pointing towards your space. So, for example, if your car is pointing left, use the left mirror because this will give you the best view of your space. If your car is pointing right, use your right mirror because that will give you the best view of your space. In this occasion, your left mirror is not really going to show you your space much at all. Having said all that, there is a problem you can run into when using my method. However, it's easily correctable. When you're adding angle, you may run out of space before you have enough angle. If they're just empty parking spaces, don't worry, drive into them. But if there are cars in the way, you can't go forwards enough to finish your angle. But that leaves me in a real pickle because I can't add any more angle, yet the line that I need to be near the car is miles away from the car. So what do? Well, it's quite simple. Steer the wheel in the opposite direction to where it's currently steered. As I've steered all the way to the right to get this angle, I just steer all the way to the left, like so, pop it into reverse, and then come back slowly until I get the line close enough to the side of the car, which is approximately here. Now what I'd normally do now I've finished getting my angle correct, is I would straighten the wheel and get there. But quite often in this scenario, by the time you've got your angle, you're already there. So I don't really need to get much closer. I mean, maybe I could get a little bit closer. So I'll straighten the wheel, get a little bit closer. There we go, that's very close now. Turn all the way to the left again to take the angle off. Come back slowly and watch the car become parallel with the line once again. Once it's parallel with the line, straighten the wheel, and now come back slowly until the back of the space is at the bottom of the car, which means you're close to the back of the space, which is approximately a bit more here. This is not the easiest way to learn how to bay park to get through the driving test, but it does actually teach you how to reverse a car and how to line the side of the car up with the line. So that skill is now transferable. If you can line the side of your car up with the side of a parking space, you can now line the side of your car up with pretty much anything else, be it a car, be it a wall of your garage, a hedge, whatever it is. It also enables you to get into the end space when you don't have free lines after the space you want. Not to mention the fact, who drives around with loads of stickers all over their car so that they can park? What if you get a hire car? When I'm teaching reversing, I get my customers to steer when the car's not moving. I know it's frowned upon and people think it's bad to steer when the car's not moving. It's known as dry steering. I don't think it's that bad. You can click on my video up there if you want to find out my thoughts on dry steering, but I find it makes learning how to reverse a lot easier because there's a lot less things to juggle if you can just stop and turn the wheel when you're not moving. Also, my car's done 146,000 miles. The steering works fine. The suspension has not had anything replaced on it. And, well, one shock absorber actually, but that's got nothing to do with steering because that's at the back. And my tyres last a very long time, so I'm not worried about dry steering. In this video, I have not explained what observations you need to make and what level of control you need to pass the driving test. And that's because this video is getting quite long enough, and I've already explained that in my parallel parking video, which you can click on up there. I will, however, say that it's very important that you notice other people before they get to you and that you give way to them if you are affecting them. Also, you need to maintain a good level of control, so no shooting forwards or backwards suddenly and no harsh braking. That's all for this one. Like if you like it, click the links in the video description below to save money on car insurance, and subscribe to get my future videos. My next video may save you money if you have a car with more than 50,000 miles on it that has direct injection. And most cars these days do have direct injection.